guest joining us on the phone line right now as we switch gears back to local politics here in Minnesota. And we have someone who is running in District 47B. That is Donzel Legget. He is the DFL-endorsed candidate in 47B, seeking to be the next state representative. Donzel, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. And actually, the pronunciation is Donzel, but I'll take it any way I can get it.
I'm blaming Hunter on that one since he knows you well. So I apologize for that, Donzel.
No worries, man. No worries.
So, Donzel, the first overall question is, tell us about yourself. Who is Donzel Legget, and why are you running?
Hey, well, I really appreciate the time and an opportunity to be on with you guys today. Who is Donzel Legget? I'm a guy from Key West, Florida, believe it or not, almost as far as away as you can get from the Twin Cities area, from Chaska, from Chanhassen, from Victoria, in terms of location, in terms of climate, in terms of a place. It's a very unique place, an island, not too far from Cuba, actually closer to Cuba than it is to Miami. Very different place. We grew up around a lot of diversity and learned a lot, that you never judge a book by its cover. You only judge the book by the contents. And I took those learnings with me everywhere I've gone. I had a very strong family, very, very strong mother figure in my family who always taught me to value people, always taught me right from wrong, always taught me that, nobody is better than you, but you're not better than anybody else. You have to go out and work as hard as you possibly can to make your way, but always remember, no one ever makes it without a helping hand from someone else. So as you move up and as you get there, you help other people. I was very fortunate enough to be a college athlete. I played college football at Purdue University and earned 2 degrees at Purdue, a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Science in Industrial Technology. While I was there in the mid-'80s, actually, we didn't win a lot of games, but we did beat the Gophers twice.
Yeah, that was some pretty dark times for the Gopher football team back then, I'm thinking.
Yeah, they were coming off the Lou Holtz era. And
that's
I remember
right, yes.
Yeah, they still had Ricky Foggy was their quarterback. I remember I got my first sack in my career was in the Metrodome against Foggy. So those were one of the few highlights that we had when I was at Purdue. We did not win a lot of games when I was there, but my mother really instilled in me that if you're going to be an athlete, you better be a great student. In fact, she actually, pulled me off of the team in high school once when the team was going to take a trip to the Bahamas for a basketball tournament because I did not get a good grade on one test. So I took that with me to Purdue and did well. I was a 3-time academic All-Big Ten. I was an academic All-America in 1988. But again, the team didn't win, and I learned I could have been a better leader. I was a good role model, but I never really took the next step of really leading my teammates, and I thought I could have done a lot more. And I realized that if I ever had a chance to lead again, I would do it. I would really step up and not only be a role model, but someone who actually tried to make folks' life better, help people get better, help those around me. So when I started my career, I started with the Quaker Roads Company in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, as an engineer, and I was really focused on being out on the production floor. This is a plant that was 100 years old at the time, and being out on the floor with people and understanding how to make the machines run better, how to make their lives easier, how to make things safer. And I built some really strong relationships because I was out on the floor shoulder to shoulder with the operators and with the mechanics. And when the management job opened up, the people went to the union president and told them, look, if you want things to get better in this facility, if you want relations to be better, you should go to the plant manager and tell him, hire this guy Donzel as the manager. Because even though he's young, he's the only one in management that actually comes out here, listens to people, and actually tries to make our lives better. That's how I went to management. And from that point forward, I've always kept people at the center of everything I do. And today I'm the vice president of global manufacturing at General Mills. I've been with General Mills 22 years. And I've led this global manufacturing group for about a year. Before that, I led our international group. So I have a lot of a very strong business perspective, but I'm also a strong family man. I've been married to my wife, Tracy, for 24 years. I met her at Purdue. It'll be 24 years in September. We've raised 4 kids here in Minnesota. 3 of them graduated from Chaska High School. They all went to District 112 public schools. We have a 17-year-old that will graduate from Chaska next year. So we'll have 4 graduates from Chaska High School. And it's been a wonderful experience for us. I've coached out in Chaska and in Chanhassen. I've been a part of the community, like I said, for 15 years, and been very, very blessed to also have a chance to be a part of things like the Human Rights Commission at the City of Chaska. And I'm still involved at Purdue as well. I'm on the Football Leadership Council at Purdue and also the Athletics Advisory Board. So a well-rounded person, I believe, someone who's been involved with the community, someone who has very strong business acumen, both domestically and internationally, and more importantly, someone who people believe is a leader. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running. I wasn't really looking to get involved at this time, but people felt like there was a need. And, at some point in your life, you have a decision to make. Things look like they're going well. You continue to get promoted. You're a vice president. And you're looking for that next phase in your life, and you're figuring that phase might be you get that next big promotion, and maybe you retire early, and you enjoy your years with your wife. You could be an empty nester next year. You could do that, or you could say, you know what, I don't like the way things are going. It feels like we're in a situation where our democracy is at risk. I feel like we're in a situation where even a great state like Minnesota, we could be doing better, where people feel like they're not being represented, where they have too many politicians in our government looking out for their own interests, looking out for special interests, not being accessible to people to hear what they have to say, not having the courage to make tough decisions. And I felt that, again, I could be the person who goes about my business and just sits back and complains about that and says, that's not going to bother me. Or I could be the person who says, you know what, I had that chance when I was playing football to step up and lead and not just be a role model. I didn't do that. I just said being a role model is good enough. Now I know it's my time to step up. People helped me on the way up. Everyone helped me get to where I am. There's a lot of people that helped me get to where I am today. I owe it to the people of Minnesota and the people in Chaska, Chanhassen, and Victoria for me to step up now and say, here's a leader who gives you an option. You don't have to continue to voting for politicians. You can vote for someone who can bring fiscal responsibility to the state capitol, as well as the ability to care for people. We can do both. Someone who knows how to bring people to the table, who can work with labor unions and work with executives, who knows how to keep businesses going well, but also knows how to protect our environment. But to do that, you need leadership and courage, and I'm willing to step up and do that. That's why I'm running, to bring leadership and courage, values-based leadership, fiscal responsibility, and the courage to make tough decisions to the state capitol.
Well, we're speaking with Donzel Legget, who's running in District 47B. Now, Donzel, before we get into the break, you're running in a very interesting district. It's District 47B, which has really changed over the years. This used to be a very heavy GOP district. In fact, for a while, no Democrats even ran in that district, but now it's certainly changed demographically in terms of politics, and it got, even more crazy this election cycle when the current Republican incumbent Joe Hoppe announced he wasn't seeking re-election this fall. So, Donzel, tell us how 47B, well, first up, tell us, what is District 47B, what areas does it represent, and how has it changed over the years?
Yeah, so District 47B is made up completely of Chaska. So Chaska is the full precincts in Chaska, or all precincts in Chaska are in 47B, and half of the precincts in Chanhassen, about half of the precincts in Victoria, again, about half are in 47B. So if you think about 47 overall, there's kind of like the urban, if you want to use that word, or the city centers are in 47B, and more of the rural areas in 47A. And so 47B is what we're talking about. Yes, historically, it's been viewed as a district that's purely red, if you want to call it that. A district that, like you said, many Democrats didn't even want to run. In fact, if you look at the voting history, Amy Klobuchar is probably the only Democrat that actually wins here. But she wins pretty strongly. So people would say, boy, that's a red district. And what I would say is a couple things. Number one, the demographics are changing. So you're absolutely right about that. But I would also tell people that I'm going around and talking to people. I've lived in this district for 15 years, and I'm going around talking to people, knocking on doors. And I can tell you that, first of all, people are tired of being described as reds and blues. They want to be viewed as Minnesotans. I have a guy that I go to church with, and he's almost 90 years old. and he told me, Donzel, I'm happy you're running. I can't say which way I'm going to vote, but he said one thing I want to tell you: don't think of us as red or blue. Think of us as Minnesotans. And he said, if you can lead Minnesotans and not worry about leading reds and blues, you're going to be all right. And that's the way I think we should look at it. When I talk to people in this district, what I hear back from them is, I'm willing to vote for the best candidate. I'm tired of being taken for granted by the Republican Party, who thinks that no matter what, we're just going to vote for them, because they never come around and talk to me or ask my opinion or anything. But they say, I'm also tired of the Democratic Party because they don't even try. So at least you're out here, and look, we want the best candidate. Now, this is an affluent district. This is a district of very successful people. But these are people who do care about folks. That's why they get offended when they're called red. They care about people, but they also care about fiscal responsibility. They want to make sure that as a state that we're continuing to be one of the best run states in the country, and that we're managing our money effectively, and that we continue to be a state that attracts business. That's important to people in this district. And so I believe that I'm someone who can, again, be a focused person on fiscal responsibility because of my business acumen. I've managed billions of dollars in my career, and I've saved hundreds of millions by targeting waste in budgets. I know that Fortune 500 companies, our budgets are much more efficient than what we see in our government because we got shareholders that are holding us accountable. So I know I'm going to bring that kind of accountability to the table. People like that. But I am also someone who cares about people, and I do have values that are more aligned with the Democratic Party. But folks in this district, they really are not so much, hey, are you a Democrat or you a Republican? They want to know, what are you going to do differently? Are you going to be accessible? Because no one has town halls. No one comes in door knocks. At least you're out here that tells me something. Are you going to make decisions based on what you think's right for our district? Or are you going to blindly follow a party? I'm a Democrat, but I'm going to tell you right now, I am not the kind of guy that blindly follows anybody. I only will do what I believe is right for the district. And I believe that this district has changed. It's less like my friend told me at church. It's not about red and blue. It's about Minnesotans. And I'm running to make the decisions that we need to make our district successful and to make Minnesota successful.
Hey, so Donzel, Hunter, you just had a caller who called in that I believe lives in Donzel's district who had a question.
Yeah, caller was asking you, why are you a Democrat?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say that the main reason why I'm a Democrat is because the majority of my values and the values that I have are things like, I do believe that a strong economy is the lifeblood of everything you want to do. You work in a big company, growth is the number one thing. If you're not growing, you're going to falter. It's that simple. So continue to grow the economy is important. But once you do that, you have to find ways to make sure that people are taken care of. I believe that healthcare should be a right for people. It should not be a privilege just for people like me. So that would be number one.
Donzel, can I actually jump in on that? So I wanted to expand on that topic a little bit more with healthcare. You on your website really emphasize that you want to bring healthcare costs down, and this hits near and dear to me because I'm on the individual market. That's where I buy my health insurance. My premiums have temporarily gone down, but that's mostly because of some one-time legislation that was passed by the GOP-controlled legislator. What would you do to lower premiums, and would you support the proposed bill, which is a possible Minnesota Care buy-in?
Yeah, so I'm not an expert on healthcare, but I do know that there are a couple things that tend to work. The first is transparency, making sure that we have a system that allows all consumers to understand exactly what they're paying for their healthcare, both in terms of care and in terms of the price for pharmaceuticals. So that would be number one, that we don't really have a lot of clarity on that today. That will help bring costs down. Secondly is ensuring that we have a bid process in the pharmaceutical industry. Look, I'm a guy who comes from corporate America. I believe that we should be, that's part of what makes America continue to do well, is that we have companies that are striving for excellence. But I also believe that at some point, there is a point where, there is too much margin built in. And the way that you tackle that is you make sure you have competition. When you have an open bid, you have competition. When I'm bidding out something, I'm looking for a service at General Mills, I can't just go out and pick, here's the one guy I'm going to use. No, I have to go through a bidding process to make sure that every vendor out there who qualifies has an opportunity to bid for our business. That drives competition. It brings costs down. I also believe, and this would be point 3, that the more people you have participating, the lower your rates are going to be overall. If you have more people in, the cost to serve those people should come down. And that's why I think having a pay-in option or a buy-in option to MenCare is probably a good thing. Now, again, I'm not an expert, but generally speaking, those are things that tend to bring costs down. Transparency, competition, and ensuring that you get the most people in on an item so that you can bring the cost of that item per person down.
I totally agree with that. Being on the individual market, I've seen my choices go down year after year after year, so definitely agree with you there. Donzel, unfortunately, we are up against the break, but I want to give this message out. Matt gives this all the time when he's on. If you're a Democrat and you want to see Democrats retake the Minnesota House, this is a district that the DFL needs to win. This is a very winnable district in 47B, a suburban district. Get out there, volunteer, and help with Donzel Legget's campaign.
Yeah, quick story on that. I met a gal in Minneapolis at the Amy Klobuchar booth at Pride, and she saw my pin of yours, and she goes, "Is that the tall guy? How do I volunteer for his campaign? I live in Minneapolis, but I want to help." So I encourage others to do the same because it's very important that we switch these flippable districts.
Absolutely. And Donzel, where can people get more information about you and how they can help out with your campaign?
Well, for sure, visit the website. We've got really great information at Donzel, the number 4, mnhouse.org. Donzel, the number 4 at mnhouse.org. If you forget that, simply type in Donzel, Donzel, in your Google search, and I guarantee you the first item that comes up is going to be our website. There's speeches that I've given on there. There's a lot more content on the things that I believe in. There's even articles I've written on leadership. There's testimonials from Republicans who also believe in our campaign. They're independents who believe in our campaign. We believe that leadership is the key to getting our government back on track. People who have courage. So thank you both for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
And one final question for you, Donzel. 4th of July is next week. Do you have all sorts of parades that you're going to be marching in?
We have one big one in Chanhassen.
Okay.
By the way, Chanhassen, Chaska, Victoria, great run cities. They're doing great, and we're going to be in Chan. We hope to have up to 100 people walking with blue Donzel for MN House T-shirts on. I hope that both of you are there and walk with us.
I'll be there.
Yeah, that just sounds exhausting to walk in all those parades. But you're a football player; you can handle that.
I can handle it, man. I'm getting myself in shape to make sure I'm ready for the fall. Absolutely. November 6th. We're going to score many touchdowns and get the victory.
I like it. Donzel Legget, he's running in District 47B. Donzel for House is the name of the website. Donzel, thanks so much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you so much for having me. You guys have a great day.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, when we come back on the other side of the break, I know we've had lots of callers chiming in that want to talk about what would you do if a Donald Trump supporter or someone who's a member of administration were to come in to your place of business and want service. What would you do? Would you give them service? Love to hear from you. Phone lines open the rest of the hour. You're listening to Brett Johnson and Hunter Haas filling in for Matt McNeil on your Tuesday afternoon.